Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, as it is, the web space brings us some pretty interesting stuff, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. Please subscribe to the podcast. Smash that button, give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere over at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel, so you can give us a like and subscribe there as well. We would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, we're on the Instagram, we're on the TikTok, and we're on the Letterboxd for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and we do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because, if we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please, pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a fun one. One's a little bit overdue, but it's a fun one. We dove into the web series space, and we took a look at a 3-episode little sketch comedy web series called Content Farm, which is available now over at CBC Gem, and it is from Lauren Gillis and Alaine Hutton, and it's a really interesting commentary on sort of the evolution of technology and AI and things that have kind of developed. It basically follows the two halves of a neural network who learn to be human on the internet, where nothing is original and people's lives are ruined for fun and for views, clashing together cringe commentary and social, cringe comedy and social commentary, excuse me. This is really, really an interesting experiment because it's one of the first that actually uses an AI deepfake to as part of the show, and it really looks at how the internet is kind of terrifying. I mean, there's some fun stuff on it, but it's kind of terrifying. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with Lauren and Elena to talk about the show and so very much more. But like I said, if you're looking for something a little different, a little fun, a little subversive, a little surreal, run over to CBC Gem. It's free. And watch Content Farm. But first, enjoy our talk with Lauren and Elena, because, quite frankly, it's a pretty good one. First and foremost, just obviously, thank you so much for the time today. Congratulations on the show.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Dave.
No, I loved it because, it's bent. Like, let's just put it right out there. It is completely bent, but I loved it. Like, walk me through the origin of the story on your end.
Sure. So we started making it about 3 years ago, and, you're doom scrolling and just watching monetized, very short garbage content just spray past your brain.
Yeah.
And you find yourself watching something that, literally the bar could be as low as, there's a walnut under this cup. What's under the second cup?
Stay tuned for part 2.
And you're watching it because you want to know. And you can't stop.
And literally, there's a third part. Yeah, of
course.
Yeah,
of course.
And thinking about, was it really a human that put this content together, really? And is it really a human that's watching this right now? And so we started thinking about what it would feel like to be a content generating bot and what you would learn about people if you were a bot training yourself on human behavior on the internet. And then it just kind of took off from there.
That's wild. That's absolutely wild. Now, I guess that dovetails into my next question, because obviously you both have a theater background, given your past. Was it always in the brain to sort of make this into sort of short form content online or on TV as opposed to, say, a theater piece?
This piece did start as digital, but the sort of obsession with what is the internet doing to us and why do we love spectating when it comes to the internet, it has been in our theater work for a while.
And we've been slowly integrating film and like cinematic aspects to our live work for like our past 3 shows. We take extra filmed content and put it in, give us time to change characters. Like it now to have this avenue where it is solely built for a digital realm was really exciting.
Now, I mean, not only are you building something, have you built something for a digital realm, but is it true you actually have a character that was built in the digital realm? And I mean, one of the characters is an AI.
It is, yeah. Some people think it's just an actor at first. There's an influencer character. So Alaine plays the protagonist, who is a bot. And the bot creates a fake influencer as like a composite of a bunch of other ladies' faces. And that actual character is played by a deepfake. So it's Elaine's body, her voice, her performance, her facial movements. And the face on top is not a real lady. It's a fusion of Alaine and a woman whose face we purchased the rights to use.
That is now going to be a trademark statement that people will have to use. This was a face that I purchased and I am able to use.
Well, and I mean, and that's the weird thing about this, because I mean, it's like I said, I mean, it's bent, it's funny, but it's upsettingly accurate all at the same time. And I mean, like for both of you as storytellers, what was it about sort of diving into sort of like you say, sort of this culture of doom scrolling that we've kind of gotten ourselves hooked into? That what is it about that drew you in to sort of tell a story about it and sort of really look at it the way you guys have?
Well, our work has always been concerned with awkwardness and the pain underneath comedy and in cringe. In someone trying so hard to make something good and real and nice and authentic and believable. And it's not there. It's not working. And when we notice that gap, oh, it's so uncomfortable, but it's also hilarious. Mm-hmm. And so the potential for uncanniness and cringe and comedy coming out of pain in something that isn't a real person, posing as a person, and then the real person going, hey, it's not me who said that, I swear, please believe me. And they're like, yeah, right. And it kind of just all unravels from there.
I love the structure of it as well, just because, I mean, it really does feel like we're in the middle of it flipping through. Was that a very conscious decision for you guys to sort of create this, not as sort of segmented, but sort of in the chaotic way that, you know, TikTok or stories or whatever is basically set up as?
Yeah, it started as a question of, could we make like almost like performance art or like ultra short sketch comedy that is pretending to look like garbage content? And as we started playing around with those ideas, we were like, you know what? I think this actually needs a narrative thread to not make this just awful. So the narrative thread of the content generating, stealing, faking bot came in to hold it all together, and things kind of became a little more cohesive. But we have lots of auxiliary content coming out on YouTube that is just awful.
I mean, it was really cool because part of like the dramaturgy of the show was that like we have this main thread, and like in a classic, you know, short series way, there's a line you can follow in a narrative, and they all sort of interconnect, and you get that little satisfaction after the third episode, like, ooh, okay, I felt like a whole journey, and here we go. And then also there's little Easter egg notions in some of the scrolls that will later be videos that are just on YouTube, that they didn't make the show. Beautiful. We spent so much time and effort we put Lorna in a washing machine. We built a washing machine and put her in it, and, you know, put blood on her face, and it was just nasty. It's awful. It's wonderful. It didn't make the show. It didn't work when you have to look at something at a serial sort of narrative through line. It was too much, but it's hinted at in the show, so it'll appear later on our YouTube channel as its own thing and maybe unfold like that. So to have all these like tendrils through all the different social media platforms was like super exciting.
No, I mean, I love that. I mean, not just on one end, because like you said, you can sort of sell auxiliary content on top of that, and just by saying, oh, it's going to be terrible, you're going to love it. But I mean, that's kind of the nature of the material that's being done here. And I mean, I'm curious because, again, this is one of those things where like when you watch it, like I watched the whole thing, like I watched all 3 episodes twice. And I mean, in watching it, I was like, okay, could this have been like a regular series? Could this have been a film? And I'm like, no, this had to be web content. But I'm kind of curious, from your perspective, what is it about sort of the web space that allows a certain degree of freedom? Because if you try to sort of structure this in a more traditional narrative space, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think so. Coming from theater, with Canadian theater audiences in particular, there's sort of this expectation that everything you put out there needs to be understandable.
Right.
And you have to spend a lot of time sort of working around and charming and massaging around that expectation if you want to be a theater artist. Whereas the internet is just sort of this chaos realm where things don't have to relate. And in fact, if you attempt not to relate them, people will be like, I found the thing you posted from 13 years ago. You actually reused that same sentence in an interview 13 years ago. And that's cringy. That you can work with people's tendencies to want to find the connections between things and feel sort of insidiously, deliciously satisfied with that. Rather than having to work against it like you would if you're a real person on the internet.
Yeah, the expectations of the viewer and like what they're gonna find and how polished or how handed to any of that sort of gets loosened up in a digital series. Anything that's related to the internet, because their own experience of it is like, I see this random thing, I see that random thing, but we're asking them to be like, how can you put them all together? What if they aren't random? What if there's a larger scheme going on that we're not paying attention to anymore?
I mean, there is something about this, and I mean, this is almost applicable to the entertainment industry in general, but it really comes down to embracing the chaos. Like if you're sort of open to and willing to embrace the chaos, you can sort of dive in and understand. And I'm kind of curious, as you're crafting all this and putting it together, when did you both sort of embrace, was there an embrace the chaos moment?
Day one that we met?
Yeah. I think this show, if you wanted to empty our brains about all the things we want to say about bots and revenue maximizing algorithms and cringe and dating shows and so on, we could go on for 135 hours. That the embrace of the chaos was sort of the starting point, and the refining and the narrowing down, like, ooh, can you put these two things together? Do people even understand the premise? Like it's quite surprising and gratifying to hear that when people watch it, they're like, yeah, I kind of like understood what was going on. And that it didn't just look like 4,000 of the worst TikToks put end to end.
Now, 135 hours sounds way too specific. Is that how much is waiting in the queue on YouTube?
I feel like I just pulled it out, but I feel like we could
settles in. We could
maybe
it's another auxiliary part of the content here.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes with the creators for 135 hours. Just us on a couch eating different hoagies and talking about random stuff.
And we're gonna get you to watch. Your computer's gonna watch it while you're sleeping.
That's right.
Like that Tom Scott video, the unedited garlic bread flight footage. I've watched that over 100 times, but I've only seen it once.
I love it. No, I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's definitely pushing audiences to not just think, but also to sort of be rolling on the floor laughing at the same time. And I mean, for you both, I mean, at the end of the day, is that what you hope the pull away is from audiences, to sort of have a little bit of a light bulb moment, but also just to be busting a gut?
I think the busting a gut is, if I was going to be brutally honest, they can if they want.
Yeah.
And if they want, but for me, it's really about the internet was made by humans, but it's no longer made of humans.
Yeah.
And so whatever you want to do with that, just consider it.
And I think the joy of like, when we make content that when we make it, we're like, this is funny to us. It makes each other laugh as we're making it, as we're editing it, as we're playing it. And we're like, wow, if our friend Ron and two other people we know laugh at this, we're good. We're solid. And the fact that other people will find like certain parts they'll laugh at and then they won't, and it's a whole mixed bag of reactions that we're happy, like we're happy to have. We're welcoming it all. So.
Well, I think you're going to hit over two, because I mean, I will count myself as three. But
Yes!
I mean, as this gets absorbed into the internet, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Just it's bordering on meta to see this piece sort of get launched on the internet, but it's about the internet, and I mean, I can wrap myself in my own brain and twist it up 14,000 times. But I mean, I think that's the magic of it, because it allows audiences to go, the internet is a beautiful but also kind of terrifying place, and it's important to be aware of that all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think holding, like, what with most things, holding both of those sort of truths together, that hey, this show is going to be really funny, and if you're Dave and my one other friend, you're going to bust a gut, and and also you should be slightly horrified, a little bit disgusted, and you should be concerned about the internet, yourself in it, and how and who you're interact. You got to hold them both. They got to both be there.
And that's why anybody treads the floorboards of theater or gets in front of a camera to sort of evoke human emotion. And you've done it all simultaneously in 3 little 15-minute episodes. And I mean, I think it's a fantastic thing.
Thanks so much, Dave.
But I mean, thank you both, Alaine, Lauren, thank you both for the time today. And again, congrats on the show.
Thank you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.